butterflies. Welcome, welcome, welcome to One on One with Cheron K Griffin, aka Madam Butterfly. On today, I have a very special guest hailing to us all the way from South Africa. Yes, I said it, South Africa. And our special guest is Herbert Prince Mutawo. Herbert is a phenomenal podcaster and blogger. Yes, he travels the world speaking on a topic that I love, relationships. Yes, we are going to talk about relationships and the need for South African women to come out from the bondage of men and live their own lives, because so many of our women all over the world are just living in bondage because someone said that they can't, or that they should act a certain way or be a certain way, or only women act like this. However, what I know is that you should live your authentic life, whatever that is. Live your authentic life. So ladies, we are here to help you. Yes, we are. So welcome my special guest on this evening, Herbert Prince Mutawo. Thank you. Hey, butterflies, this is your girl, Cheron K Griffin, aka Madam Butterfly. I hope that you are flapping your wings today. I have a very special guest, and he's hailing all the way from South Africa. His name is Coach Herbert Prince Mutawo. And for those who want to communicate with us, I ask that you go to www.facebook.com/Cheron K Griffin. Now, here's Coach Herbert. Say, hey, Coach, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Sharon. Thanks for having me on the platform. Great to be with you.
Oh, well, you're very welcome. Anyone that, first of all, in Africa, who has my book, 3 p.m., The Preacher, the Power, the Penis, and Me, and who has been following me for a few years, of course you're going to be on my platform. You're fabulous. Thank you.
You ruffled feathers in that book. A lot of people were talking, but you've been talking real stuff that many people are afraid or shy away from talking about, and these are things that are cut across gender, cut across column, cut across continents. I mean, it has made me realize we go through almost the same things despite our geographical locations.
You know what? A lot of times we do go through the same things, but a lot of times people don't talk about those things that we go through. We tend to want to hide.
Oh yeah. We put on some masks, different personalities, and everybody wants to appear as if everything is all right. But deep down, we're eating, we're losing it, and we feel we can't be heard. We try to hide stuff we're going through, especially right. on the aspect of the relationships. There's a huge real struggle, whether it's North America, whether it's Africa, whether it's Middle East, whether it's Europe. The struggles are just the same.
Yes, there is a struggle. And the crazy thing is, a lot of times women don't understand that the struggle is everywhere. It's not just here in the US. There's a lot of single women everywhere. And for you to find interest in my upcoming book, 134 Reasons, especially over there in Africa, all the way in Africa. You know, to me, that speaks volumes to why women are single, period. Period.
Wow.
When I went to Thailand, a lot of single women, you know, and they were asking me to find them husbands, you know, so this whole relationship thing, it crosses barriers. Why do you think women can't find a husband, a boyfriend, companionship, things that they want?
Just as you mentioned, I think I get a lot of emails, I get a lot of text messages on my WhatsApp. Hey, coach, can you hook me up with somebody?
Oh, wow.
From different countries and different races. I mean, when I saw the book, 134 Reasons Why You're Not Able to Find, Why a woman cannot be able to find a man, I began to realize, in USA, the struggle is also real as in Africa. The struggle. I went to Thailand. I went to Bangladesh. I also realized in the Middle East the struggle is basically in Indonesia. The struggle is the same. But my question to you, based on the book, what prompted you to say there could be 134 reasons why a woman cannot find a good man?
Well, you know what? There's a song that says 99 won't do. So I just figured, why not do 134? So I'm giving you 35 bonus reasons of why you potentially can't find no man. And what people don't understand, the whole book, it doesn't apply to one person. It's eat the meat and spit out the bones. Whatever applies to you, take it. And then what doesn't, leave it. And it's okay. You know?
I hear you.
What intrigues me though is that you like the video that I posted years ago, Jesus Ain't the Husband.
Yeah.
I posted that like 2013 and people are still watching it as yourself and sharing it. So why do you think that is?
Maybe just to say, Cheron, I grew up in church. I mean, my mom and my dad took me to church from a small boy, and I grew up with. I've heard that statement countless times from women, from women in church. And in your video, you only mentioned about mature women. I've seen it also. I've heard from women in their 20s and their 30s saying, "I'm married to Jesus."
Wow.
I think it's a desperation to comfort themselves, but really, I mean, just as you asked, you sound idiotic to say Jesus is your husband. I think it's just trying to fit in to comfort themselves, but just as we said, people are hiding the real struggle behind something.
It's trying to make them feel better.
Exactly, feel good. But what you really want is a man, not Jesus as your man. You really want a man.
Right, exactly. And people don't want to talk about that kind of stuff. And the crazy thing is, you're all the way in Africa, and I've been to Africa twice, and the people over there have such a different mindset, a beautiful mindset, but it's always been Jesus, Jesus, Jesus.
You can say that again, yes, as if the brain doesn't function, as if Jesus has to think for basic things that we have. You're right. We literally suspend the thinking part of the brain and just say it's Jesus. And a lot of people, a lot of ladies end up frustrated because of just what you said, everything is Jesus. Whereby the human mind has to think, it's not being allowed to think.
But I didn't know that women over in Africa were afraid to live. Like I know there's cultural differences, you know, but I didn't realize that young women were afraid to live. If that makes sense. Because there's a lot of people who want to live, like want to have fun and, you know, have some wine or have a cocktail and go out dancing. I mean, we can't right now because of COVID, but do those things, but they're afraid to.
Oh yeah.
And they feel like they're going to hell.
Exactly. And most are just dragging their lives for another day, dragging their lives for another day, lifelessly, without any life out of them. And just as you mentioned about that, it confines the minds not to think freely, because there's a whole lot of fear around expressing yourself.
And I get that. And I would think it's more fear in Africa to express yourself than America, because we are more liberated in that aspect where we can express how we feel. But people, even being able to express, are afraid to express because people, what will they say about me?
Oh yeah.
They're not going to love me anymore. I feel bad about this. Or God's not going to be happy with me about this. But then they're dying inside.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They are.
Their relationship is already sure. But they have this expectation on themselves that they cannot live.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And based on what you're talking about, I think a couple of years I wrote an article where I said the market for a man has become very fiercely contested. And with what you're talking about, the African woman is not really free to express herself. But at the same time, there's the 20-year-old woman, there's the 30-year-old woman in the same market zone with probably a late 30s or early 40s woman. But then the early 40s or late 30s woman probably doesn't know how to express herself. And these young ladies who are coming just go out there and get the men. And these mature women, sorry to say, but it's really happening. They are busy praying, waiting for a man, as you mentioned, because people are not free to express themselves.
You made a valid point, and I believe you said this, that the young women are going to get the men. And they're
exactly. Yeah, they're going to get the men.
That's the same thing over here. The young women have mastered how to get a man. A lot of them, whether it's twerking that ass or showing some skin. They like, look, I'm gonna give me one. And so, the younger ladies tend to keep themselves up. They work out, they go to the gym, they're fit, they're fabulous. And they're like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm taking yours too.
And they dress freely, they dress comfortably to express themselves. And just as you said, the mature elderly woman is busy praying. Nothing wrong with praying, but you're not getting nothing.
Right.
And there's a thing that prayer does. There's expression which prayer cannot do. I mean, you are human. How you carry yourself, how you dress up, how you communicate, they are very important aspects for a man to stop and say, hey, she looks good. I mean, those things, they just have to be, exactly as you said, mastered.
Men are visual. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, all of them want to see skin. Some of them, want their women in certain outfits. But they're visual, and that's what appeals to them. But even the men that want their women to look a certain way, like really covered and stuff, they're still out there looking at the woman that don't have on as much clothes.
Just to zero in on you, I had a lot of people asking, what are some of the reasons in your book that you mentioned to say, why aren't women getting a good man? From your own observation in your interactions and your different speaking platforms, what have you found out that is causing a lot of women to be frustrated not to get a man?
Well, I just told you one, how you dress. Some women just look homely. I'm sorry. Some women need makeup but don't want to put makeup on. So it's like, look, lady, you need some makeup. It's okay. you know, I need makeup some days. It's all right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, you wear your dress down to your ankles. Sorry, that's over.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And you mentioned also the issue of going to the gym, how your body looks. These are
Right.
personal development aspects. You literally have to be interested in your body. You
That's true.
decide what type of a body you need.
You have low self-esteem.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Do you
You're
believe
not
in yourself?
confident. Right. You're not confident in who you are, and people know that. You
But
know?
you mentioned something interesting. You said the woman in the USA is expressive. I mean, in
We're
your
more,
in your 2 trips coming to Africa, you probably saw a different dynamics in the sense of a woman, culturally
well,
reserved. I mean, if you say how you feel, I mean, a lot of people would look at you and think, "Are you crazy?" So you probably would keep your expressions to yourself, but they cost you a good man.
yeah, that's true. And Kimberly says that we all have to put in the work. Like, and a lot of some women don't want to put in the work. You
They don't
know,
want to put in the work.
yeah, you just talked about going to the gym. And if you're overweight, a lot of times you have health issues. So you
Mhm.
should want to be healthy, in my opinion. But some
Mhm.
people get offended when you say, oh, well, maybe you should work out, or, and it's nothing being mean. It's not being mean, but
Mm.
you should work out for your health, the health benefits of it.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
So, like you said, just little stuff. Um,
Oh, oh
so wait a
yeah.
minute, let me say this. Stop expecting so much in the beginning. Stop wanting what you can't give the other person. You know,
Oh yeah.
you might want a Chanel bag, and maybe the guy is going to give it to you. I don't know. But don't put that pressure on him for that, especially when you don't even know him.
Uh-huh.
You know,
And
do for you what you expect others to do for you. Does that make sense?
it does make a lot of sense. And on one of the things I have observed in my interaction and travel, I think the modern day American woman or the modern day woman in Europe is different from the modern day woman in Africa. I mean, the other issue I think that makes these mature women not to be, I mean, to be taken or zeroed in by the men today. These young women, you say, develop themselves. Even the sex aspect. I mean,
Yes.
there's a whole lot of growing there. I've heard women say they are not comfortable to talk about sex with their men. They are not comfortable to express or to experiment. They act as if they don't know. But the mind of a
Wait a
man
minute. Wait a minute.
wants somebody who lures him out in that conversation.
I have to ask you this. Do they
How
have
do you enjoy? How do you enjoy it when you don't talk about it?
right? That's true. And how do you enjoy it if you don't know what you like? But I have to ask you this. Do they have strip clubs in Africa?
A very few. I think in South Africa, yeah. Not many countries have strip clubs. Not many countries have. Some
Thailand
countries
have
are
'em.
restricted. Mm.
Okay. Have you ever been?
Yeah, I've been in some strip clubs. Yes.
You like it? You like
Oh,
it?
it's amazing because you see things you never thought you would see, and
Okay.
just as you say, the fact that the mind doesn't know, it
Right,
does not necessarily mean it doesn't exist. And
right,
most of the times, people live and think they are enjoying sex when they are not enjoying sex because they don't talk
You know,
about it.
okay. Since we're talking about sex, right? A lot of times men want women to be all open to do certain things, and that's fine. But you men
Mhm.
need to be open as well.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Like sometimes your pride will stop. the woman from enjoying the full experience?
Say that again, explain more. There are a lot of men who are listening on that part.
Okay, I said sometimes the men, because of their pride and they don't want to do certain things that the woman wants to do, I said sometimes that take away from the experience for the woman. Does that
Oh
make sense?
yeah, it does make sense. But what you need to understand, I mean, there's a whole lot of cultural backgrounds that the African man has to get away from. I think some years ago I did a presentation here in Pretoria, and I wrote an article. I said the body of a woman is like a musical instrument. If you pick it up, you play, it produces a sound. If the sound is not good, you don't break the instrument or go buy another instrument. You improve the skills of the player. But many a times the African man is very conservative, is not free to talk about these things, and it's always a challenge.
Okay, so I have a question for you. If a woman wanted to put handcuffs on you, would you allow her?
I would. I mean, you mentioned earlier on, you said, because how do you do something you don't know and you don't know how it feels? The problem is, I think our mindset when it's come to sex is because we're not allowing to be free to express ourselves. The more we are free, the more we are free to express ourselves, the more we begin to enjoy things we never imagined. But because we don't want, just as you mentioned, the man doesn't want that. The first statement that comes to the mind of the man, who you've been doing it with. But look, sex is over. People know about this. The mind is also created to know.
The mind is very creative, but some people are just so bound in what they will try that sometimes it can be a turnoff to other people. But Kimberly says facts. Some men are not comfortable enough with themselves and they make their women feel ashamed of wanting to try things or experiment. And we just talked about that. That's so true. You
Oh
know,
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I don't know how many men out there. You asking me if I would be handcuffed? How many men out there will say, "Hey, yeah, it's good with me. I can be handcuffed." Very few
right.
would agree because there is that aspect of wanting to be dominating. I mean, if it's not
Yeah.
coming from me, I don't want it. I have to be probably initiating it.
But you know what? Some men want to be dominated.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Sharon. Some men want to be dominated.
Yes, some men want to be dominated. Yeah. Some men, especially powerful men who are always in control, especially at their places of employment or at their own business, they want the sensation of losing control, allowing
Wow.
someone else to take control.
So
And
they would be happy if the woman takes charge.
oh yeah, oh yeah, they want to be spanked and stuff.
They
Carlene,
want to be standing stuff.
as Carlene says, why is it so bad to talk about sex? We all do it. What is your opinion about that?
Say that again. I lost you there.
Carlene says, why is it so bad to talk about sex? Especially because we all do it.
I think there are a lot of things. We come from different backgrounds. I mean, I can give an example. My dad and my mom never talked to me about sex. I
Okay.
had to know about sex by doing it. So
Okay.
basically, when we talk with friends, we hardly talk about it in detail. So it has been a gray area we are always not comfortable in talking about. And because we need to break the barriers of not talking about it for us to be able to enjoy it. The reality is a lot of people, even in marriages or in relationships, are not enjoying it because they don't talk about it.
Or
To be
they're
able
not
to enjoy it, you must be able to talk about it. So
right.
I think it's difficult to talk about it because of different backgrounds that we are coming from. And
Yeah.
from a man perspective, I don't know why. We want to do it, but we don't want to talk about it. We want to experience the thrill, but we don't want to talk about it. So basically, just as you say, some men need some women who bring them out of the shy zone and be able to talk about it.
I think regarding men, I think women have to make them feel so comfortable where they'll let go and they'll trust that woman, one, not to share it with someone else. Like, some men don't want to be exposed regarding certain.
It's a very private area. They don't want to be exposed. They don't want to talk about it with somebody. They would be happy talking to their women about it, but not with a third part, which is understandable. Right. But then there has to be a platform created where everybody is free within this. My biggest concern is, just as you said, is why are people not talking about it? We read about it. It's on the internet. It's on YouTube. It's on TV. You pick up a book. There's a whole lot of books on sex positions, but with our partners, we don't want to talk about it. But we want to do it.
I have that book. It's called The Sex Bible.
You've got the Sex Bible.
Yes, I have the Sex Bible. But when Segametsi Matsomi says, teach each other what you love doing in your room. Teach each other to stage your club in the room. That's true.
Oh yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, that's the basic thing. People have to teach each other what to do. If you don't teach each other, how do you know? You only improve by talking about it. Anything that we do, I say to people, sex is an art. Anything that is an art, you improve.
Yes.
You grow in it. And the only way to grow is to talk about it. Just as the statement to say, teach each other about it. How do you teach? By being open and talk about it.
Right. So we have to create that dialogue within each other where we can just freely say what we want. And I'm going to tell you a story in one moment. But Carlene says religion taught our ancestors that it's a bad thing.
Oh yeah. It's a very private issue. It's only a bedroom issue. It's only, I don't know whether you've heard of this term, the missionary only position, where the woman is counting the ceiling or the counting the numbers and the stars, and we're not allowed to experiment. So basically, because we're coming from a culture and backgrounds and homes that don't talk about it, it's a no-go area. You get into a relationship, you're still very conservative, you don't want to talk about it.
Right, but those are things you need to talk about, especially when you enter a relationship, and then especially when you're going to get married, because people like different things. And sex, besides communication, is a reason that so many people get divorced.
Oh yeah, it's one of the major reasons, not money, sex. People are not happy sexually. It's one of the major reasons for divorce.
Yes, I agree. Now, I have to ask you this. Do African men like oral sex a lot? Like to have it performed on them?
Let me talk from being observing and interacting. I think it's something that people tend to think, this is the word that you normally hear, it's ungodly, it's never heard of, people don't want to do it. And the Jesus thing statement makes you not to do things God has given our bodies to enjoy. That's what I think.
Right.
I mean, if you're enjoying your body with your woman, God has given it to you to enjoy. But then there is a lot of restrictions that we tend to think, oh, this is not good. Jesus is not going to help you do it. But he gave you those tools and equipment to be able to function in a certain way.
Right.
It's not really something people are open, but the younger woman is really going out there on a prowl and she wants to do it. The elderly women, they'll tell you it's a no-go area. They don't feel comfortable in doing it.
Okay, how about dildos? Do African women buy dildos?
Hardly do that.
Okay.
No, very few.
Really? Do they sell them over there?
Yeah, they do. I see them in the shop. They sell them. I see them. They sell them.
I would probably go and get one.
They do. They sell them different sizes. Yeah, they do sell them different way of them working. They do.
Okay, Carlene says sex without the communication is no relationship.
Oh
I
yeah.
have, I, I have to say this. A lot of American women come to Africa because Mandingo man.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Our friends, our friends, Cheron in the States, asking me to get the men from Africa. Exactly. I get a whole lot of them asking me, "Hey, dude, can you get me a man from Africa?" I think they think we are created differently. Down the engine is different. The function of the engine and the size of the engine is different.
I think they're talking about the size because I know women who keep going back.
They keep coming because the problem you just knocked me. They keep coming back. There's this school of thought also in Africa that once an African man does a good job on you, you always want to come back to him.
Well, I heard that reputation is true. I don't know.
You've heard it also, ne?
I've been to Africa and I had to speak at a church. I was there for ministry. Carlene, that's a great idea. Carlene thinks that we should open up a novelty store in Africa, like a sex store.
But yeah, I tend to think there's a lot of effort that the African man puts in the sexual performance. There is a whole lot of effort that probably they put, but there's a whole lot of functions that contribute to the erection. It's the type of food, it's the stress. If you're not eating well, some women have never experienced a full erection of a man because the man is not eating healthy.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I see how y'all chewing on that bark over there. I think that bark got something from that tree. Y'all be chewing it. I think I may have the women keep coming back and forth. Is that the truth? Is something in the bark? Is it a particular type of tree?
Well, there's the school of thought that there's just something that people are chewing from the back. But to be honest, I think God was a little bit generous to the African men to an extent. I'm being very honest. God was a bit generous, but the issue is then, do we all know how to use the tools and the equipment?
Right.
That's the other aspect. Do we all know how to use? You might be gifted and blessed, but do you know how to use the tools and the equipment?
Right.
Because if there's no satisfaction despite the tools being good enough, then the woman would not stay. Just as you say, divorce number one case is because of poor sexual performance, no enjoyment in the bedroom.
Now, as far as African men and women, are Africans sensual? Like romantic, or is it just like, come on, let's get this done and roll over or go home, or is it more romantic?
I'll give you two scenarios. Some couple of years ago, I did an intergenerational gender dialogue book that I wrote, a conversational approach. It was targeting a specific area in Namibia why HIV and AIDS was growing up high. One of the things that I heard from the elderly women was that in a certain place, I'll not mention, the woman has to be available when the man wants it.
Oh, wow.
There's nothing foul play. The thing just erects, it gets inside. Okay. So it's been a problem. That's why I said if it's not talked about, it frustrates and people are not really getting it because there's no talking about. I mean, just as you said, it's not just that the fact that it is erected, it has to go inside. So basically,
go ahead. I was getting ready to read something. Let me read this. Segamency says, let's talk on sex. Even most Christian counselors used never to want to talk about it. Think of how many marriages become horrifying when two virgins get to the honeymoon. It may be their first 5 years of marriage.
Yeah, I think in the Christian world, sex is not talked about. My mentor here, he puts it on the table. He literally just, he's a Christian. He just blasts it and say, "You guys, you're playing with this thing," because I think in the church sector, people don't talk about it. Majority of Christians are frustrated sexually. It's a taboo area to talk about in the Christendom. They don't want to talk about it because we feel it's not good, but God is watching you when you're doing it.
Right.
Why is it God gave you the tools and the
Right.
equipment to use them?
So Carlene says, are African men controlling?
There is a statement that there is a lot of controlling. Yeah, I think there is some controlling happening in the.
Uh-oh, you're stuck. So, butterflies, we are having some technical difficulty, and it's okay. Coach Herbert is all the way in South Africa, so I don't know if it's his end or my end. Nothing came on my screen, so it looks like something is going on regarding his Wi-Fi, but it's okay. So anyway, we're talking about the dynamics of relationships in the US and in Africa. And we're also just talking about how there is a lack of sexual communication in Africa, especially, and the US. But what we really found as a common thread is that the young people, the African young people, 20s, 30, and the American young people, 20s, 30s, that they're more sexually liberated, and I'm bringing him back on, they are more sexually liberated than the other generations, the older generations. So it's just very interesting about the cultural perspectives. Also, he was saying in the beginning, and I agree with, women in Thailand and other cultures are all looking or wanting to be married, but they can't find a man. You know, so that's very interesting. So it's not just in the US, but it's in Africa, it's in Asia. He talked about Bangladesh. It's all over. So there's a national crisis or international crisis, excuse me, of women who want relationships, who want to get married and can't find that special someone. So we were just talking about some of the reasons where or why some women cannot find companionship, a relationship, a husband. And it's interesting to me that so many people want to get married and can't get married. I believe that you can. I mean, that's just my personal experience. I believe that anything you set your mind to, you'll have it. But I will say this, I happened to be with some younger men the other day in their early 30s. And one of them was sharing with me that how he met his woman isn't how she remained. And because of that, it's a turnoff to him. And they haven't had sexual intimacy in a very long time. I can't say a year or so, but months. And he's a young man. So I want to encourage women that when you do find your special someone, how he meets you is how you should try to maintain yourself. Um, if you're working out and that kind of stuff, continue on that journey. Another thing that the young man said is that he became his girlfriend's everything, and he didn't want to become her everything. She was waking up to please him, and she was going to bed to please him, and she forgot about herself. And he was saying that his hustle, like, he doesn't have time to lay around all day. He's trying to make the money to maintain a home. And she doesn't have the same aspirations and goals. So check yourself even with that. Make sure that you have the same goals. Make sure that you have the same aspirations, and talk about those things in the beginning. You know, if you hustling in the beginning, don't stop your hustle. Keep your hustle. If you're on a 9 to 5 and you know that you're really an entrepreneur and that's where you headed, you need to make it clear to that person, hey, I'm doing this for right now, but I'm really an entrepreneur and this is how it is. I'm going down that path. And that way you give the person that you're connected with the opportunity to decide whether or not to be with you. And we have Coach Herbert back. I was holding it down for you, sir.
Yeah, I see that. I was hearing you in the background. I was going to say it's. I mean, you mentioned that can I be put on chain making love? The African man is not comfortable with doing that because there are things the African man has never experienced, and we don't want those things done on us. Just as you mentioned, for us to enjoy sex, we have to talk about it. But most of the times, the African man does not want the woman to talk about it. And then, before I lost transmission, you were talking about, is African men controlling? There is an element of control because of backgrounds, where you came from, how you were brought up, culturally. Probably a woman is not supposed to express herself. If she expresses herself in a different manner, then it's a problem. My dad used to say, he's late now. My dad used to say, if you find her liking wearing pants and shorts, don't tell her to stop putting them on because you are attracted to her putting on that stuff. So basically, I think it's how we pick up information in society. A woman can never be free where there's control. There's a difference between order and control. But I think, yeah, there's an element of control that goes around in most aspects.
Okay. Do you think that American women, do you think that they could date African men? And the reason that I ask you that is because a lot of times American women, we're very, I don't want to say dominating, but we have our own thoughts. We communicate those thoughts.
Oh yeah, I think an American woman can date an African man. I want you to look at it. There's also a tendency to say most men will tell you that South African women are dominating. That's what you would hear, because most men, they want a woman who doesn't speak up. But there's a difference in opening up and sharing your views and your opinions. You are coming from a Christian background. The problem is we tend to think if a woman opens up and expresses herself, she's dominating. But who improves? If Coach Herbert is with Cheron, who improves Herbert? Who improves Cheron? It's the two of them. It takes two to tango. Yeah, an African man can date an American woman, but she has to give him a lot of patience because he has to come to the table and be as understanding as you guys have been brought up to express yourselves.
Okay, now, wow, I had something on my mind that African women, I've been around a lot. I actually had a ministry in Italy, and it was predominantly African. African women have hot tempers, and then they go like that, and you know they're mad then.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge. A lot of African men and women, because of the, I think some of the things they come from the homes that we come from. I
Okay,
agree
okay.
with you on the temper aspect. It's huge. It just blows up. It's something that has to be adapted, and people have to change. But one of the things that is important, an African man who has never traveled will
Okay.
struggle to adjust to these things because they have not
Okay.
seen that some women are free to express themselves and still be women and still be wives and be even humble, because we tend to think if a woman expresses herself, then she's not humble, then she's
Right.
not marriage type. I don't know why we even say this one is marriage type, this one is not marriage type, because she expresses herself. So I agree with you that you picked it up, that they can be really mad. Yeah, it's true.
Oh yeah, I done seen them in action, and I back up because it's a scary sight. But you know the crazy thing, when I look at Africans and I look at African Americans or Black Americans, I see so many
Mm-hmm.
similarities. You know, the things that we eat. The
Mm-hmm.
ugali, like the ugali. I was like, oh, Africans eat ugali. I mean, it was just totally interesting. Um,
I'm going to switch. I'm going to switch to the laptop. Connect me. I think I did not charge this battery. I'm going to.
okay. So anyway, yes, Coach Herbert, he's all the way in South Africa, and he's been following me for about 2 years. And I didn't even realize that he had my book, 3 p.m., The Preacher, The Power, The Penis in Me. So let's see if he's back on. See if okay, he's switching his device. But yeah, so relationships are an interesting thing. And the common denominator is everyone wants to feel loved. Everyone wants to be loved. Everyone wants somebody who's going to see the value in them and appreciate that value. And a lot of times we don't. We'll get a good man or a good woman, but you won't value that person until they're gone. So I want to encourage you that if you have someone that loves you, someone that respects you, someone that you can talk to and be open and honest with, I would encourage you to stay with that person. It's hard out here in the relationship world. And a lot of times we think that the grass is greener on the other side. But I always tell people, water your own grass and it'll turn green too. And a lot of times we don't want to do that. So yeah, water your own grass. But we're waiting for Coach Herbert to get back on here so we could chop it up. But in the meantime, I didn't officially release this book, 134 Reasons Why You Can't Find a Man. Some real talk is reality, and it's a journal, so that way you can write down how you feel. So Kimberly say you have to give each other the grace to grow into their true self. I agree, Kim, but I also believe that in the beginning, you have to be open and honest with that individual, where you are and where you're headed, and try to stay on that path. Because a lot of times we'll take a different path, and it's okay to take a different path if someone is okay with that. But if you kind of, you set the path and you kind of stay with that, or talk it out, whatever, so you can grow and work together. You're right. Kimberly says you don't always know your path. Kimberly, that is so true, because I think as we get older and as we grow, we do things different or take a new journey. But initially, what I'm saying is don't say one thing and then do something else soon as you get married or whatever. So yes, you're growing together and you're loving one another. And people do take different paths. Now, sometimes people can't handle the other person's path. And they the journey's over. And that's okay. You know, a lot of times we hold on to something. Let me we hold on to something that really isn't meant to be held on to. So, Coach Herbert, Kimberly says, initially she says you have to give each other the grace to grow into their true self.
I
Okay.
like, I like, I like the word, the grace to grow into their true selves. That's exactly what has to happen. I mean, you have to allow people to adapt and to come to a certain level. I think the fact that somebody probably is not knowledgeable in a certain aspect, if they're given the opportunity to be able to grow and to come to the certain level, I think it will be good for both parties in the relationship.
Right. But then I also said that sometimes your paths take a different turn, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes people think that marriage is forever. I truly don't think that all marriages
Mm-hmm.
are meant to be for forever. I think that sometimes you need to give somebody the boot. Um, but
I hear you.
sometimes you outgrow one another,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, and
Yeah.
your journey goes this way and that person's journey goes another. And a lot of times we try to hold on to something that's not even moving, and you end up both being miserable and feeling stuck.
And what you said you outgrow. If there is no growth, then there definitely is going to be a problem. Because
Right,
I'm of the opinion a relationship or a marriage is supposed to grow both parties. If
right.
then I'm not growing, if then I'm not growing, why am I in this setup? I mean, you live a whole life miserable and
Yes,
enduring. I think people should enjoy than endure relationships.
right,
So the growing aspect is a key part of any relationship, whether you are
right.
married or you're not married, you both have to be growing. If there's no
But
growth, then there is a problem.
but sometimes you grow apart
Yeah, yeah,
because
you do.
sometimes one grows and one stays the same, and it's frustrating and it's over.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because there's literally no growth on the other part. The other person has grown, and you are at a different wavelength, and you
Right.
really are not connecting because, just as you said, you have outgrown this zone with this person.
Now, do Africans think divorce is okay, or are are they supposed to stay together based on tradition?
It's debatable, but at the moment, I mean, I'm coming from. I get involved in counseling. I give an example. You find somebody who's abusive. The people talk about corrective measures. I mean, you can go and have the person given counseling and therapy, but I've seen people die, literally die physically because they stayed in a relationship where the person was abusive.
Oh, wow.
Um, the cultural background of Africa or African marriages and families, divorce, not really. Fix things out. But fixing things out is always important when things are being fixed. There's a difference in saying fix things out. Are we really keen to fixing things out? There's more death in relationships at the moment. In South Africa, in Namibia, in Botswana, in these countries, you find gender-based violence. And
Oh, wow.
some women are told to stay. I had a friend in Cape Town who was going through a difficult, abusive relationship. And it was bad, really bad. And this is the question that I've always asked people. If somebody is being abused every day, you pray for them and they are kicked, they are beaten every day. Are you at some point putting yourself in their shoes and
Right.
feel how they feel? Because I said to a friend in Cape Town, why don't you tell your 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 pastor's wife to probably to get this man and experience the beatings and the pain, because literally you are dying physically because
Right.
you're being prayed for, and at the same time you're being beaten every day.
Right.
I know my
But you
mentor, if
know,
he's listening.
I have to say this. Sometimes religion doesn't teach people common sense. You know,
Say that again. Religion
seriously.
doesn't teach people common sense.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can pray all we want, but we can't change someone else's will.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, I agree with you.
We can change our will. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we can allow God to change us, but we can't change anyone else. And that's
No, we
the
cannot.
bad part. And so Segmet C says sometimes divorce is a solution. And it's
Because
okay.
we can't really change somebody when we are not having the ability to change a person. Only God can
Right.
change a person, but me as a human being, I cannot change a person. And it's a thing people will debate about it. But the unfortunate part is most of the people have not put themselves in a difficult situation where they are abused day in, day out, and feel the
Right.
pain. I mean, it
Right.
doesn't make
Right.
sense, because I'm of the opinion that love and marriage, there has to be respect. But when the respect is not there, why am I here?
Right. That's the
They
truth.
can't be they
So,
can't they can't be they can't be love and abuse at the same time.
and
Abuse and love
that's true, but
don't dwell together. They don't dwell in the
uh,
same place.
a lot of people don't know that, and a lot of people don't believe that. But Segmetsi says, true, Sharon, on the aspect of religion, it makes some people not think. A lot of people don't think, and a lot of people think that they're doing what's right. And that's the sad part about it. But Coach Herbert, we're going to have to do a round two because this is great.
Oh
So,
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
what I want you to do is tell people how to reach you. How can they connect to you? You're a big time blogger over there. I know you're a speaker. You put on different platforms. So how can people
Um,
reach you?
they can either reach me on Facebook,
Oh,
Herbert Prince. They can find me on Facebook, Herbert Prince. They can find me on Instagram, Coach Speaks. They
Coach
can
Prince.
find me. They can Coach Speaks on Instagram.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
They can find me on Twitter, H Mutor on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
On Facebook, I have two accounts. The other account is full. The other account, both with the same names. So they can find me on Facebook. They can also find my blog. If you just write my full name on Google, you can find my blog where I post
We
a lot of the
we can
articles.
find where you live.
Exactly. Yes. Google can tell you where I live. My phone numbers are there.
Right, right. So, you guys, listening audience, I have to say that Coach Herbert has some books coming out, which is amazing. Congratulations to you. So, give
One
us
of
the
them,
titles of your book.
one of them, Sharon, I printed. It is published, but I'll need to have more copies. It talks about anger. It comes back to the
Okay.
issue you're talking about relationships. I mean,
Okay.
based on my counseling and coaching, I found out there's what I call residual anger. Anger which literally
Okay.
has got apartments in this person's life. And it comes back to
Yes.
what you're talking about. It's difficult to change a person when they have decided to accommodate anger in their lives. It's a problem.
Yes. Yes. So, I want to say thank you to you, of course, because you're so amazing. And I'm coming over to Africa once
Yeah,
this
I'm looking forward
pandemic
to
is resolved or whatever is going to happen. I'm coming over there to turn it out, set some ladies
Oh,
free.
yeah. Ruffle some favors.
Set some men free. Yes, yes, yes. So I want to say thank you so much for gracing me and my audience with your presence. And I'm going to send you the link so we could do a part two, of course.
Oh, yeah.
But for everyone else, I want to say thank you for tuning in to One on One with Cheron K Griffin, your host. Today we had Coach Herbert. If you didn't hear the full thing, you need to listen because he dropped some knowledge about what's going on over in Africa with the women who can't find a man. Sorry, ladies.
Just to ask Sharon, I'm getting women who are asking me about the book. How can people get the book? How can women get your book? The 134 reasons why they're not getting married.
They can actually go on to my website, which is, and I'll email it, sharonsworld.com. But I'll do a special promotion just for my sisters over in Africa.
All right, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. They really need a copy of the book. Friends, lawyers, doctors, professors, frustrated, not getting married, and
that's what I have to say.
Still praying Jesus would drop a man for them.
And that's what I have to say. Like, I wanted to talk about that, and we'll save that for round two. Doctors, lawyers, can't find a man. Sorry, ladies. Buy my book. I'm going to help you out. I might do something special just for y'all over there as far as having a webinar or something. We need to hook that up, Coach Herbert. Have a webinar.
Oh, yeah.
Over in Africa.
That would be great, yes.
All right. Well, I got your number.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be, like, hey, Coach, what we doing our webinar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in as well. This has been a phenomenal talk communication one-on-one with Cheron K Griffin and Coach Herbert. Have a blessed one, everybody. Bye-bye.
Your way, because freedom costs you the bus, you're not lost, just free.